This whole situation that I'm dealing with, I call gang stalking, but it's organized crime. And the legal concepts that would be fitting within what I'm describing is the actual doctrines that causes the actions of the attorneys when someone's use of this kind of targeting is to literally be like obstructing justice or just being clearly retaliated against within the legal system. And in that case, there's many other things than me suggesting for a new term for habeas corpus when it's habeas corpus means that you're already in jail, but I'm utilizing it as kind of a unique creative term for like how badly I've been poisoned and out of my own normal life. And so my body, my brain was being forced into a jail. So that's why I'm using the terminology. But going forward with safe but legal frameworks of the crimes against me, it's legitimately denial of access to courts, no matter when the court date is, because it's legitimately retaliating against me for speaking out or for just trying to get out of the poisoning in general for 40 fucking plus years. So I'm dealing with what I feel is the worst crime in America to today based on the gang stalking or the organized crimes of there being these psychological operations and these proxy warfares that are upon American soil today. Like it says right in the Bible that they, they will establish ways to infiltrate, like on I mean, it's as if what we're experiencing today on American soil with the operations at large that these people are infiltrating not only American life, but Americans' legal frameworks. So it's a real constitutional claim. In the legal basis, it's the First Amendment. It's the 14th Amendment, which is due process, and it applies when someone's ability to appear in court is intentionally, obstructed. My transportation, my communications, my outreach for support, all the hacking that they've done, my finances being sabotaged, or just the plain simple legal access of me establishing, like, when I got the paperwork, I'm like legitimately trying left and right to establish conversation with the prosecutor. Well, if that wasn't interference to just leave me high and dry there, then it's also obstruction of my availability to even speak to them on human level, where it's obstruction where it's to cause for the missed deadlines, the defaults. Now, being that after the first hearing in the Zoom call or whatever, they suggest that, well, now you don't have the right to speak to the prosecutor because you have an attorney, public defender. Well, and if the public defender, I don't know, I've been trying to get a hold of him forever, where he finally did get a hold of me and the court date got pushed back. But it's also leaving me in a catch-22 if and I believe wholeheartedly still that these people not only have had access to my house, would still have access to my house based on me being poisoned up in my last relationship, specifically in that time to get the keys for a second time, create a copy of the keys to then have it in their hands so that within the stingray or the GPSing of my location were going away for long enough where they can do something, it places my life in a very constructed catch-22. Either way, if it's psychological torture or psychologically preventing me from being able to be in any kind of lived way, not just like make it to my sister's surgery, but it's also to be preventing me as it already has, sabotaging me from finances, sabotaging me from working a gig app, sabotaging me from establishing work, keeping work, having my performance skills go down inside of job after job where these people are legitimately then teaching the sociopathy that we have out here in the world, just in the general. I'm back. I had to answers to something else going on here, but the often plead is that the unconstitutional denial of meaningful access to the courts in due process violations, it's one of the strongest and clean terms for what I'm talking about here because it's a very important term that covers a whole lot. It's kind of an umbrella that covers a whole lot here when it's procedurally done in violations that include not being given fair opportunity to be heard before, during, and after. It's also like to perform something that's to be quick made in order so that you don't make the records, which has happened all throughout my life in that kind of sentiment. And I couldn't understand it, whereas like now I can, and now I can see clear through these avenues that was taken in my life to prevent me from establishing any kind of justice system for myself of support. Excuse me. Confirmation burp. But I'm just there. It's being unable to attend to the courts through no fault of my own, but through the very strategic sabotage, the financial ruins, the identity theft, and literally, I wouldn't even call it identity theft at this point. I mean, it's that too, but it's literally to erase me, is what the whole goal is to make my life and my lived life irrelevant, as though I could have done anything to be of a supportive person, not only within the family of people that would, take to be that degradative and degrading and just performing this crime over my life. But the courts then themselves, without actually taking proper notice or leaving opportunity for me to respond, it's literally zipping me out, and saying that it's we're going to hold you in contempt of court if you make an outburst like that again, or if you, and it's like you're not even outbursting. That's not even the correct terminology. It's like I'm just literally trying to make the record, and they're just not allowing me to the record, because the record is something that you need to establish within the courts. And they shouldn't be like shutting you out from being able to establish that, which has happened on multiple levels already throughout my life. So phrases that I believe lawyers would use is more like deprivation of liberty, or my property, or even my work life without due process of law, like corrective due process, which is just retaliation then for protected activity. This doesn't require the underlying allegations, only the retaliation against me. It doesn't allow for anything that's prior leading up to the situation, instead of it just being like, oh, this person is just acting this way, and it's just not true. It's just not. I haven't been able to like live my own truest nature inside of my whole entire life with what's been being done to me. So the protected activities would include reporting the abuse or misconduct on any level of it being able to control. It would include activities of petitioning the government, speaking out in general about crimes against me, and then seeking for legal redress of grievances. The legal phrasing there would be retaliation for exercising constitutionally protected rights. And instead of it being the original Constitution, they're trying to override it with the new living Constitution. So this is frequently paired with civil rights claims, where there's oftentimes obstruction of complete justice altogether. So it's not only an obstruction of justice that's taken place in my life, it's obstruction of the finances that a person needs, just in general, in order to continue in their grind. So they legitimately are like trying to rip the roof off of my house, allow the snow to come in, because it's just freezing, and making me sick. It's stealing away my own normal performance as far as even being able to suggest to the monstrosity of these crimes online. And so I've seen videos, for an example, of like targeted individuals, for an example, and they're like recording, and it'll be like a red car, or something that they see often, or see it for themselves often happening inside of their reality, that suggests to the gang stalking. But oftentimes these videos legitimately make those people look crazy. It's like they're not even articulating or vocalizing it to the experience of what led up to them creating that video. Or, like, for me, for an example, I don't wish harm on anybody. Not even these people that have done these things to me. I just really want to go on with my personal life. Meaning the life that I would have otherwise had been creating with the influence that I wanted to create for my own life. You see, because I realized real quickly that these people didn't want me to have influence. Not only reaching influence of others for support, but to establish the influence for myself, because it's legitimately inside of the Bible. I don't know why that people are this way, but they legitimately don't want people to do anything better for them, better than they can do for themselves, is basically it. Like, hearts are corrupt, and I didn't personally think about that parable in the Bible as that it was reason to be corrupt. I thought of it as a reason to connect with and align with the Lord that much more, so that you're not actually hurting, running around hurting people, like acting moral, acting upright, acting forthcoming, while internally or behind the scenes, they're just not. They just don't care. So, why the obstruction of justice matters is because it's not just a criminal concept, but it matters because this applies when someone's interfering with court proceedings, prevents parties from appearing, manipulates circumstances, or, stonewalls or gatekeeps in order to cause for that default. In this situation, it would be, in particular, to create a warrant out of thin air, just like they're creating a crime out of thin air, in order to establish for their own safety of faces, their own safety of their own images. And in that case, then it's just dirty. You know, it's dirty justice. There's not justice there. It's, you know, an infestation of a sorts. So you wouldn't charge this yourself, but lawyers could cite it. So like I wouldn't charge this for myself, but lawyers could cite it when describing misconduct in the situation that I'm dealing with, where witnesses and intimidation or witnesses or witness tampering. It's the broader perspective or the broader perspective than what other people might be able to realize, because it includes like all of the like fear mongering, and not only that but just the psychological abuse in it of itself. It's like you're not just left alone with no help, you're left with people progressively attacking ways that you can help yourself, let alone anybody else to come into your energy to help you. So much like a person being a kind person enough to give me $50, I'm grateful for it. But then not only, not only now am I targeted, but when these people realize where it's coming from, then they attack that person. They hack their accounts. They try to make their lives a living hell now as well, so that they can. It's literally to forcefully make that person think and see that, oh my gosh, like this person's under attack so much where like I see it and it's like a lived horror story. But now that I try and help them, now I'm under attack. So, geez, my hands are tied. I can't do anything. It really sucks because I wish I could do more. That type of thing. So that's legitimately why I'm looking for people that aren't cowards. People like Andrew Tate, I don't think is a coward. People like Tristan Tate, will they stick up for their brothers. They'll hold down the fort for another when they're going through training, or they have this, that, and the other thing going on, in hopes to really win. Like this last fight with Chase Demir, I can't remember his name. So forgive me if I'm wrong about his name. Like he had a recent fight with Andrew Tate, and Andrew Tate lost, and like I believe wholeheartedly that like Andrew Tate could have won that fight. And I believe that even with Andrew Tate losing that fight, Andrew Tate's still a winner as far as that's concerned, because just how forthright he is about the fight itself. This guy Chase had, he was more in his younger prime than I believe where Andrew Tate is in his life, so maybe that partially had to do with it, or maybe it was Andrew Tate wanting to give it to him but make it look like he fought, just because he himself believed for some reason that he deserved to win. I don't know. But that's something that's only something that he and they could think of for themselves. But either way, when witnesses and witness intimidation is around, witness tampering, it's a broader perspective than what people realize. And I'll explain what it includes here in a second. I've been made sick with grief. Truthfully, it's just stress on top of stress on top of stress. It's just nonstop in my life. The fact of the matter is that it creates fear where it's not necessary, or it wouldn't have been necessary, but it creates hardship, basically to silence me or to silence anyone, preventing for testimony or court participation, or just to prevent anybody from actually helping you, as I was just kind of describing. It's coercion. It's coercion of control. And then when no one listens to that coercion of control, it's where you can actually establish for yourself a way out of the messes that these people are leaving you within. It's very coercively violent. And if you ask me, a poisoning and a calculated, manipulative poisoning is violence. And so I know what my experiences are, even if I don't have anyone on the external world to help me like establish for those proofs. It's just scary because then if they're able to do this the whole time, and like I wouldn't even be in this house, like I keep mentioning, if I was just able to realize what the truth was where I was living before, and him sprinkling the shit over my food. Not to mention all of the other areas that I now remember where it's like Emily poisoning me in the relationship that I had before, where I like hightailed it out of there trying to figure out a way to get away from the covert abuse. Because after being poisoned, you just see it as covert abuse. You just don't see it as uh, an attempt on your life, which it was on many fronts, mind you. It wasn't just an attempt on my life, but my reasoning skills is what I'm really getting at, because you can't reason through something that you can't not only see after it's happened to you, but even if you have, say, 20 or 30 minutes of like literally realizing, oh my God, I'm in a dangerous situation with this person, I need to get away from this person, to all of a sudden not having the recollection of it, not having the reasoning skills that you would otherwise have to be moving away faster than you otherwise probably did, which is in my case. Not only not having anywhere to go, but it was legitimately like these people want me homeless or dead to save their faces, like all across the board. So even if it's non-physical pressures, they can still qualify within the courts with you just, I swear to tell my whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. But it also takes a forthright judge, a forthcoming, upright, someone who's actually upstanding in the law. It doesn't take any kind, if it's dirty, if it's dirty in any fashion, then it's obstruction, and it's tampering with, like, having selective or malicious prosecution, because these things can become harder claims but more relevant in the framework of like what I'm actually getting at here, because it's selective prosecution or malicious prosecution. If it's selective, you're targeted while simultaneously being situated by people that don't have your best interest at heart. And for some reason they can't, or maybe they're paid, or maybe they want, the trust fund money over your life. Either way you look at it, that's blood money that they make then, while literally not allowing you to justice. And then it terminates your life, your livelihood. Your like, I've already been terminated out of my ever loving reality of what I wanted to create with my own livelihood. If I was just allowed to work and get my website up on the server, say I wanted to buy a block of, say I could only afford a year at first, and then just go balls to the wall, like when I feel like my knuckles are sore from knocking on doors, just kiss my knuckles and keep knocking on doors. You know what I'm saying? And keep going, like make it like you don't get to stop until you at least hit another 200 doors. You don't get to stop. You don't get to take a break. because right now you're in crunch time. But say I was able to make 5 years then and actually establish for the, other sides of the business. I don't have to get into it, but I was able to actually make those things work. It would take back a whole lot of my actual ability in my life to be able to move forward in my life to help the people I love, be there for and support the people to the best of my abilities, the people that could even hurt me on these levels, because I personally don't have the heart to enjoy hurting another person. And with me being poisoned, I'll admit it, I've hurt people. Not like knowingly or wittingly, but it's like you're in a situation where you're hurt so bad and you can't figure it out and you're all confused and frustrated. Like the sexual abuse of my father hurt me. Leaving me in a hypervigilant state of mind hurt me. Having to compartmentalize or having the framework of that duplicity that they're trying to create to work on hurt me. Where it's like, even if a person wants to psychologically abuse you, for an example, and suggest that, oh, well, I didn't mean for you to find out this way, but you're being followed around now, and you don't see them, but they see you at all times. Okay, well, even if that's not true, which it is true, but even if that's not true, then they're literally just psychologically messing with you to like make you scared to go outside, make you scared to go into your grind, make you scared to try. But then there's also the malicious prosecution, which I'll touch on here. And that's the legal action pursued without probable cause for improper purposes. And that's kind of where I think it has been, because it's designed by a malicious intent, because with me just speaking out about it, not being able to be a content creator, like oh, have you seen that movie Salt? Or I don't know, like be a content creator, and like, not that I wanted to be like someone that's gonna like be like, hey, this movie is really good. I'm just bringing up an example. I don't know what else to bring up right now because I don't want to give away the ideas that I have for the work of a person's heart, because it's mine. It's been given to me, obviously, by how I've had to work on my heart based on the things that people would do. And so and it's not only like the physical level, but the emotional level, the metaphysical level, the ways that they're literally establishing to like want to take over your whole online personification, your government issued identity, your own personal identity, which is your integrity. And so it leads you into these civil rights violations where these people can utilize the police, courts, and officials civilly to sue these state actors if they're dirty. And they need to be found out for being dirty, because there is some dirty around this happening in my life. And I know for a fuck well that these people don't want to be caught. But the fact of the matter is that I didn't deserve what's been happening to me my whole life. And where do you go with that type of abuse when it's that manipulative, that like encased and enclosed, where it's just entrapping you inside of a life that you know for yourself that you're being heavily, heavily targeted. And so the claims here could include things like due process violations, which it has been in the past, like incredible. Like the last public defender I had, this Jeremy guy, he's like, I can't even believe what just took place here. Like, I've never seen anything like this. You saw them, they wouldn't even let me talk, and then when I tried to, they said that they're going to hold me in contempt of court. You know, it's retaliation. It's retaliation for trying to even establish justice for the person that deserves it. So there could be situations that are being protected within the state or within the states that allow for, say, someone that really just wanted to be an activist as far as women's rights. They wanted to establish for being able to teach women and allow women to read and allow women to think for themselves. And then there's certain actors all across the globe that, and especially in third world countries, where if you act out against like the Taliban and these people that are like literally like their hearts are corrupt, that they'll literally like retaliate against these women for doing so. So if you're not able to protect yourself, then when certain things can happen within the system and you get back to your family or they force you back to the people that are willing to abuse you to those levels in the first place, it's like in their, it's like the Sharia law. They'll fucking kill you. They'll literally take their own family's lives without a qualm about it. And that's just sick, G. It's sick. Next is the denial of court's access. I'm just bringing up a little story, is what I'm bringing up there with the retaliation, because it's legitimately someone that's an activist just trying to pursue their right to their autonomy, their mind, their ability to teach, their ability to reach others, to give women due process of legal framework where it's being taken away from them. And so these are abuses of authority. And even if they don't have like an authority, like, you know, like cops can have the authority, or like have like a, I don't know, like a super prorated complex of an authority, if you know what I mean, in order to push abuses onto another person in that kind of fashion, they will, even if it's coercive and hiding behind a plausible deniability. But then you also have the denial of not only access to courts, but courts themselves might have denial of trying to access certain legal frameworks in order to protect the victim. So I don't need to like get into the whole conspiratorial uses of like a crime of conspiracy here, but it's just the fact that under under the color of law, it's legitimately rights that are being violated. And so it's the terminology I'm looking for here. It's not just for legal terms, but because the targeted individual community, the gang stalking, the proxy warfare, these aren't terms of the system's like okay, like that makes sense to me type of legal speak, you know. And so, or it's not legal language, but I'm just trying to term this stuff in a practical way that's to create for like the framework for what I've been actually going through all the way through my life leading up to this near like very troublesome case, being that like, like I feel like I'm being made sick now because of the financial sabotage, and my outreach has been determined. They've hacked me, they've gotten accounts taken down left and right. And it seems like there's actors, dirty, like dirty places of power, that are like acting in law or act law, but they aren't performing in a forthright and forthcoming way. That legitimately means that there's dirty involvement. where I would just like to be able to live my own life. Even if it was like 5 years, that's all I have left of my life, where without this stuff I could have lived 20 or 25 or 40, more years. It really is daunting to me because, like, for myself, I wanted to be a family man. For myself, I wanted to be a lover and not a fighter in the fashions of having to fight to these levels. I'm a fighter, but it's not the fighting of the sense of terminology that they want to suggest to with me, like, oh, I'm going to swing my cup. Like, coming out of a long standing poisoning, you're going to be mad, okay? And so I think that anyone should have the right to their human emotion. Like, especially if they don't mean anyone harm. They're literally just like frustrated and like hurt, trying to get out of a situation. It's like it would almost be like blaming someone for standing up for themselves and just dealing with so much grief and so much troublesome things in their life that they faint, and then blaming the person for fainting. You see what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me because oftentimes I feel like I'm just gonna faint. All the stuff that's happening in my life, and they're just literally trying to create it. Like, I believe wholeheartedly that these people literally need to realize what they've been inside of my life and face the consequences before they have to face the consequences without coming forward about the retaliatory behaviors that they've literally taken to just sick levels in my life. Mind you, I mean, if they don't legitimately care about God and they don't care about love and whatever, then I guess we just run around and create patsies for people to get Charlie Kirked, and the real killer gets off scot-free and protected because they had a nice patsy that was legitimately saying, like, I didn't do it though. Like, I didn't do this. And then there's other things that literally lead up to you believing, like, through other people's content and what they find and another person finds and another content creator finds. It's like, oh, wow, there's something really real to this now. And if people aren't paying attention to that, just believing the official narrative, then by all means, believe the official narrative. But I just don't buy into it, and I won't because of what I've legitimately had the strength to get through in order to, like, literally hope for one day, like many years ago. Like, I could be 17 or 22 or, many areas of my life where I'd be like, I hope that I can get through this to actually be able to live a life of my own accord, because this is not my own doing. This is legitimately being created and manufactured and engineered over me, getting my feet to move. And I'm shuffling my feet throughout life now, like the butterfly effect. Like, this happened and it moved you here. That happened and it moved you there. That happened, now you gotta do this. That happened, now you gotta do that. And it's like, it's trafficking to levels of like, what in the actual fuck is really happening here? I have to figure this out or it's gonna lead me to dead before I even get a semblance of my life. And that's legitimately what my content, for the most part, is about. On many levels. There's other things as well. Like, I'm very angry about not being able to just, you know, work without being poisoned and pushed around, in the sense of like controlling my life and having, even if you're a friend, even if you're somebody that's there in my life, you don't have the right to be an unwelcome guest inside of my house to do what you were doing, for me to be at work and psychologically abusing me in such a fashion that's like, oh God, like, you couldn't even imagine. Like, before all of this, I'm literally in St. Paul Park coming out of the bathroom, seeing my supposed friend sprinkling some shit over my food that I just worked really hard to, like, get all of the items for. Had it in the slow cooker all day while I was at work, to come back to, like, or no, I didn't have it in the slow cooker all day. I came back and I made it, and I had the slow cooker all day then. But either way, it was like a lot of my time, energy, and resources to be able to even go and drive my already T-boned car that was set up as well. Mind you, like, who the fuck can blame the person that gets T-boned? I guess the sheriffs can. As long as they shut off your camera and don't take your story, they're just well to do with it. It's super messed up because I'm literally owed like 999 billion tens, whatever, and it still wouldn't even give me a portion of my life because money doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is establishing true family, true camaraderie, being able to enjoy fires and have people in your life that legitimately care about you and care about where you're going, so much so that you care about each other and want to take each other up in a sound way that's just sound and down for like what life could actually be looking like out here. Anyway, I'm really, really freaking tired. I just really wanted to share this message because I'm hurt by like being forced into the position of like feeling there's manipulation involved in my family and life that's just always leaving me as the common denominator out, and it hurts my feelings to and fucking through, and it's like it doesn't even matter. So whatever. I wish that I could get help with the situation I'm going through in a physical way. And it's legitimately like, it's hard to like even try. I'm like, I don't want to be attacked again by some weirdo that wants to be paid to perform a crime over me, and just like get away with it or get protection. But obviously, American life has been infiltrated hardcore, and just nobody really wants to see it. No one wants to deal with it, and if we don't deal with it, well, I really feel bad for humanity for where it's headed if we can't fix this and fix the human heart. So I'm really after fixing the human heart, and especially these men's hearts, because you shouldn't have some kind of complex superiority over another person's life, and especially when it has to deal with these really heaviest type of crimes that's been being played all over my life since birth. I know what I dealt with when I didn't have the vocabulary, and I wouldn't have been able to articulate it at 6 years old or whatever age I was. Even through the poisoning, you still feel things down to your bone, and it's as if these people just don't want you to be able to even say what you were trying to say that next morning, to go to your own other family members to say, no, these people really did something to me to hurt me. But then it was left and right all the time. It was just like, if they could poison me, they could push me around real easily. And honestly, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the control. And that kind of control to hurt someone on these levels is completely sociopathic. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for being here.